We wanted a beautiful end grain cutting board, not to buy one, but to build it. So we found an old, broken oak table, one that couldn't be fixed, and gave it a second life. It wasn't just about saving money, though that helped. It was about making something that lasts. And maybe about giving other things a second chance too. We found the listing on Facebook Marketplace, a round oak table, free to anyone who wanted it. The leg was broken, the base had cracks. The man who posted it said he had tried to fix it more than once, but it just wasn't holding together anymore. He'd had the table for over 60 years, bought it when he and his wife first moved into the house, and now it was time to let it go. He told us, maybe someone can use it for parts, or turn the wood into something else. He didn't want to throw it away, not after all those years. We just thanked him and carefully loaded it into the car. It wasn't a table anymore, but maybe it could still have a second life. Back at home, we flipped the table over and got to work. We removed all the old metal hardware, hinges, brackets, screws that had held it together for decades. Then we separated the tabletop from the extension leaves. The joints were stiff, but the wood itself felt strong. When we laid it all out, we had 2 half-circle end panels, 2 large rectangular center leaves, and some thick solid oak support pieces. Oh, and the legs. The legs looked like carved dragon claws, big wooden feet with curved talons gripping the floor. We didn't throw them out, just set them aside. Honestly, we're still not sure what to do with them. If you've got any ideas, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you'd turn these into. Anyway, it took maybe 30 minutes, but just like that, the table was gone, and in its place, a stack of beautiful, aged oak, ready for its next life. We weren't sure yet how many boards we could make, but we knew the first step, slicing these pieces down into something we could actually work with. Next, we brought out the table saw and started ripping the oak into clean, equal-width strips. That old finish was no joke, thick, baked in from decades of use. And white oak is tough even without it. We took turns feeding the boards through, steady and slow. And that's when I had an idea. I remembered I had some leftover ebony wood from another project, deep, dark, almost black. I held it up next to the oak, and the contrast was just too good to ignore. Light and dark. So we ripped the ebony into matching strips and added them to the pile. We didn't know exactly what the final design would be yet, but we knew it was going to look sharp. Then came planing. We needed all the boards perfectly flat, same thickness, so we fired up the planer and started feeding them through, one by one. Things were going smooth until they weren't. One of the boards, maybe a knot, maybe grain tension, kicked back. It shot out the back like a rocket, and I mean fast. Luckily I was off to the side, just like my dad always taught me. If I'd been behind it, that thing could have done serious damage. Old hardwood isn't just hard to work with, it can be unpredictable. That moment reminded me, woodworking isn't just about patience or precision. It's about respect for the tools and for the wood. Once everything was smooth and level, we moved on to the first glue up. We laid out the oak and ebony strips, shifting them around until the pattern felt just right. Light, dark, light. Soft transitions, bold contrasts. There's something satisfying about arranging wood like that, like building a puzzle with texture and tone. Once we locked in the layout, we spread the glue, pressed everything together, and tightened the clamps. This part always takes patience, lining up edges, cleaning off squeeze out. But it's also the first moment where it really starts to feel real. You don't have a board yet, but you can see it coming. Once the first glue up dried, we took the panels back to the saw. This time we sliced them across the grain, short, even blocks. Why? Because we were making end grain cutting boards. When you rotate the grain to face upward, the board becomes way more durable. It's easier on knives. And when the oil hits, the pattern pops. We flipped each piece and started laying them out again, side by side. Some we kept simple, others we mixed around, just experimenting with the design. Then came glue up number 2. Bigger clamps. More weight. This time we weren't just gluing boards, we were locking in the final shape, the soul of the cutting board. Once the glue dried, I started sanding. The boards were too wide for my planer, so I set up outside with the belt sander and took them one at a time. It's noisy, dusty work, Glue flying, sawdust everywhere, but it's worth it. As the surface started to clean up, the patterns began to show. The white oak, the ebony, all the contrast we planned started to come alive. Once they were smooth, I used the router to carve finger grooves into the big boards. They're heavy. Those grooves make a real difference. After that, they were flat, clean, and ready. The grain was still dry and pale, but I already knew what was coming next, and that's always my favorite part. After all the cutting, gluing, sanding, this is where the wood finally comes to life. The white oak turned warm and golden. The ebony, deep black, almost reflective. Each board had its own look, the grain, the contrast, the story in every strip. For the first time, they didn't look like something we built. They looked like something that belonged in a real kitchen. In the end, we made 5 cutting boards. 1 big ones, thick, heavy, like the kind you'd see in a restaurant kitchen, and 4 smaller ones, perfect for everyday stuff. We kept all of them. That was the idea from the start. Not to save money, not to sell, just to make something useful. Together, we did check prices later. Turns out a set like this can go for close to $600. But honestly, that's not what matters. What matters is we made them ourselves, and now they live in our kitchen, and we use them all the time. So yeah, what started with an old broken table ended up as 5 solid boards that'll last for years. Nothing fancy, just time, tools, and the decision to build something together. If you've got an idea like this, go for it. You don't need much, just a reason and a bit of patience. Drop a comment if you've got questions, or if you've done something similar, I'd like to hear about it. And if you want to stick around for more projects, hit subscribe. That's it for now. See you in the next one.